We begin with chaos at the southern border. Our Fox cameras are seeing more Chinese and Turkish immigrants crossing into the country. Listen to one Turkish migrant say Americans should be worried by how easy it is to cross.
Did you have to pay a cartel?
Yes.
How much?
Around 10,000.
10,000?
Yes. In fact, the American people is right, completely true. Who come into this country, they don't know. Well, okay, I'm good, but how if they're not good? How they're killer, psychopath, else? No guarantee of that. Why, no security check, no background check.
Democrats in the Senate wasting America's time last week with a gimmicky failed vote on the same border bill that was rejected just last February. Candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. told Maria it's time to take immediate action.
Would you move to deport the 10 million illegals that are in this country on Joe Biden's watch?
I would shut down the border overnight. And I've been to the border. Everybody there is confident. I've spoken to the Border Patrol, local law enforcement, people on both sides of the border, local hospitals and local officials, and everybody is confident that we can shut this border overnight, which is destroying our country.
Joining us now, Senator Ron Johnson from the great state, maybe the greatest state, Wisconsin. Senator, good to see you. Listen, we heard this Turkish migrant talk about there's no security checks, there's no background checks at the southern border. And so as we look at the failed border bill, which was, as you and I both know, was not a border bill at all that Joe Biden and Chuck Schumer brought to the floor in February, they brought it back again this week. No changes, no new negotiation with Republicans to actually create a bill that's going to secure our border. It appears that this is just more political theater.
Good morning, Sean. Hope you and your family are doing well. What people need to understand is the border is 100% secure on the Mexican side. The human traffickers, the drug cartels, completely controlled. So yeah, RFK Jr. is right. We could secure the border. The problem is Democrats don't want to. They want an open border. They caused this problem. That bill literally codified an awful lot of President Biden's open border policy, and that's a huge problem. The Democrats, when they say they want a secure border, all they're interested in doing is making it more efficient to encounter, process, and disperse. So they're talking about after the election, if they gain all control, that they're going to put forward an immigration reform package. Well, you already see what Democrat immigration reform is. It's called an open border, codifying 4,000 or 5,000 people per day. And remember, President Obama said 2,000 a day was a humanitarian crisis. It was. We've experienced last December over 10,000 people on average per day. Under Biden, it's been over 7,000 people per day. And in this country illegally, the vast majority do not have a valid asylum claim. So again, that's Democrat governance. That's their open border policy. They want an open border. They caused a problem. Biden has the authority to close the border. He just doesn't want to use it.
Well, so Senator, to that point, we know that Joe Biden signed over 90 executive orders undoing Trump policy on the southern border, in essence, opening up to this massive migration that we've seen in the country. And so Karine Jean-Pierre, the press secretary for Joe Biden, was asked about why Joe Biden isn't doing more. Watch.
Why should he have to do it unilaterally? Why should we do it in a legislative way? And let's not forget that negotiated.
Action before to undo some of.
Wait. So you're right. He took many executive actions before. But in order to deal with what's happening at the border, you need legislation. You need it to happen in a bipartisan way.
And that's true. You need a bipartisan bill that secures the border. Again, they have done nothing to sit down with Republicans and figure out a policy that's truly going to secure the border. Have they looked at the House's H.R. 2 that truly works to secure the border? They've done nothing and refused to do anything because, to your point, they want these open borders.
What she said is completely false. In 2018, the Supreme Court decision, the Supreme Court said current law exudes deference to the executive branch. President Trump used his executive authority. He closed the border. Biden used that exact same executive authority and opened it up. So he has the executive authority. He just doesn't want to use it. So what they're saying is completely false. Listen, we would have been happy to strengthen that authority. We could have revisited the court decision that made the Florida settlement apply to accompanied children as well as unaccompanied children. We could have reversed that. We would have strengthened the authority, but that's not what they wanted. They wanted to codify 4,000 to 5,000 people a day, and even worse, they would have reduced the authority of a president who actually wanted to secure the border by setting that threshold at 4,000 discretionary, implying that the president doesn't have the authority. They're going to grant that discretion, and then they're going to take it away after 3 years. That's why that bill was worse than doing nothing.
You know, let's talk about the risk again. So just to recap, last year, there was over 3 million migrants that came into the country. Just this year alone, fiscal year 2024, 7 months in, we're already at 2 million people crossing our border. Under Joe Biden's term, there's been over 1.5 million gotaways, people we don't know who they are. And to your point you've made in the past, Ron, there's probably more than that 1.5 million. We now have Chinese flooding into the country. And just recently, we had 2 Jordanians who were here illegally trying to cross into the Marine Corps base in Quantico. Again, this poses real threats to our country. How does your committee, the Homeland Security Committee, assess this risk that Joe Biden has foisted onto the American people?
Well, to Democrats, we've not held one hearing at the full committee level addressing the border. We've had Mayorkas in, and he just dodges our questions. So they're not serious about doing this. And to just prove that point, one of their lead negotiators said the border never closes under this bill. And the majority leader, when those negotiations failed, here was his quote: "We were playing chess, they were playing checkers, and we got our Ukraine bill. And we're in a better shape on the border than we were 3 months ago." So first of all, if you're negotiating in good faith, would you rub your negotiating partner's nose in failure like that, saying that we're playing chess, they're playing checkers? Secondly, if you were really serious about securing the border, they didn't get a bill. And why would Schumer say he's in better shape on the border than he was 3 months ago? It's because all he was looking for is political cover. They're not serious about securing the border. They want an open border. People need to understand that about the Democrats.
It was political cover because even more Democrats voted against that Senate bill last week than they did in February. I want to pivot and switch gears because Dr. David Morans, he's the top advisor to Fauci. We just learned this week that he was deleting emails at NIH. So he also referenced in one of those emails that he was concerned that Senator Ron Johnson was requesting information on what they were doing on COVID and gain of function. How do you react to the deletion of emails that the American people are actually entitled to? This is our work product. They are our employees. We're entitled to the emails. You asked for them. They deleted them.
Well, this is just further evidence of the complete corruption of our federal health agencies, and that's what it is. We've known that Anthony Fauci's been covering up his involvement in funding gain-of-function research, probably resulted in the coronavirus. He's known about that. FOIA, and again, you shouldn't require these federal these FOIA requests. Congress has oversight authority that the administration completely ignores. But by FOIA documents, we got about 4,000 of his emails. They were incredibly incriminating. We requested 400 of those unredacted. And we've gotten 350 pages of those. We're down to the last 50 pages for the last 2 years. They will not give us the final 50 pages of Anthony Fauci's emails. There must really be incriminating information in those. But again, these health agencies are completely opaque. They're not transparent. They're not honest. They're not providing the American public the transparency the American public deserves.
And had massive impacts on Americans' lives during the COVID pandemic. We're entitled to know what they were thinking and what their plans were. I want to pivot to this because it's Memorial Day weekend. A lot of families are hitting the road, traveling to see friends or family members. Gas prices are spiking. Joe Biden, in response to that, has released another 1 million barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Again, he sees the politics of gas prices, but this is pretty simple, Senator. Just support American oil and gas and their drilling as opposed to Joe Biden and Democrats attacking American oil and gas. You don't have to release 1 million barrels from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Just pump more oil, pump more gas.
Absolutely. Use our own God-given natural resources and stop this massive deficit spending. Sean, there have been studies now that show that an average American family is spending more than $1,000 per month just to maintain their standard of living because of Biden's inflation. Now, I've seen surveys anywhere from a third to two-thirds of Americans can't afford a $400 emergency. They don't have that much savings. How can they possibly afford $1,000 a month? They can't. That's why people are pretty ornery, and I hope they connect the dots and realize this is because of Democrat governance, the Biden administration, and I hope they throw them out of office.
Well, the polling would show that Americans are suffering under Joe Biden's economy, and frankly, they blame Joe Biden for this economy. Senator Ron Johnson, always a pleasure to see you. Thanks for being with us on Sunday Morning Futures. Appreciate it.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.